Good afternoon, everybody. We're just going to give it a couple of more minutes just to allow people to come in and then we'll get started. Okay, we're going to give it like one more minute and then I'm going to go ahead and get started. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining our Lunch and Learn webinar today. Thank you for taking the time out to just get to know a little bit more about this grant. We're going to start off by introducing ourselves. I'm Tamara. I'm the Grants and Contracts Coordinator, and I will let everyone else introduce themselves.
Hello, I'm Sarah Wagner. I'm the grants manager for the neighborhoods department.
I'm Heather Busher. I am the financial manager for the neighborhoods department.
Forrest, are you in the building? Would you like to introduce yourself?
He might not be on yet, but
Okay,
yeah.
well, our director, Forrest Decker, will also be sitting in on our webinar. So we just wanted to give you some familiar faces. We are all the grants and contracts team. So nice to meet you guys. So first, we would like to congratulate you guys and thank you for all of the work that you do around our neighborhoods and all the different things that you guys are doing. So thank you and congratulations on receiving this neighborhood empowerment grant. Some of the things that we're going to cover today would be becoming a vendor of the City of Kansas City, which as well as ACH, which is a form that we have, the contract process, the forms that are required, advance payments, as well as quarterly reporting. Okay. Um, Let me go to the next slide. Sorry. Sorry, guys. Okay. Becoming a vendor with the city. So to become a vendor with the city, there is a process that we go through with our procurement department. If you could please reach out to us just to see if you are a vendor of the city. The process is our procurement department will send you a DocuSign to fill out. Um, and once soon as you can open and complete it, the faster this process will go. They will also ask you for a W-9. The W-9 that we are accepting is from March, the 2024 version, and it will need to be dated within a year. We can't start the process of the contract until this process is completed. ACH payments. we recommend to receive the ACH payment. It's just much faster. Your payment just goes much smoother and it's faster. You don't have to wait on the check and on the mail to come. That's also a DocuSign process, and we would need a voided check from you guys, a blank voided check. Contracting with the city. Each grantee will receive their grant via a reimbursable purchase order contract. Here in the city, we call those POs. There is no signature and is dispatched via email. To enter into a PO contract with the city, our procurement department requires certificate of good standing from the Missouri Secretary of State office dated within the past 2 years, certificate of insurance with the City of Kansas City as an additional insurer, E-Verify MOU with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, a notarized E-Verify affidavit, a detailed budget from your, and also a scope of work from whatever your project entails. So if you give me just a second, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and Sarah will start sharing hers, and she's going to show you what those documents look like. So give us just a second for the transition.
Okay. Here we are. So, I can see a couple people have their hands up. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to go ahead and put them in the meeting chat. We will be monitoring that and answering any questions, through the chat. And this is, so for our contracts, the city requires all of these documents, and for them to be current and in good order. And so if you need help getting these contract documents, if this is something that you are not registered with yet, please let us know. Most of this, we can guide you through a little bit. Most of this is your responsibility and up to your neighborhood how you organize this, but we are somewhat familiar with the process and how long it will take and things like that. So the first thing that we require is that you have a certificate of good standing with the Missouri Secretary of State. So a lot of people accidentally sent us their registration form, but what we're really needing is this certificate. So your organization number will be here. We've redacted this one, and it'll tell us that you're in good standing. So you've completed all the requirements with the Secretary of State. And this should not be dated. See, this one is expired. This needs to be within the past 2 years. So the latest we would accept this would be October 2022, but that is something that is renewed every 2 years. So if yours is coming up on expiration, once you renew it, you can get us that new form. So this is the first one, the certificate of good standing. The next is a certificate of insurance. So they usually come on these, they're called Accord forms. This is any insurance agent should be able to produce this form for you all. And your name will be listed here as the person, the entity, the organization insured. And then it kind of explains here that if you have an additional insured, the certificate holder will be placed on there, that it needs to be endorsed. So for this one, you can see here, there's an X off of additional insured for commercial general liability. And this meets our limits requirement of $2 million for aggregate insurance. And then down here at the bottom, you can see that the certificate holder, we are listed, this City of Kansas City as the Department of Neighborhoods is insured. So that is this next requirement, and we're happy to, help you or give you any information we can about that. The next is our E-Verify MOU. This is a agreement that you will get with the Department of Homeland Security through a link that I had previously emailed out to you guys about a week ago when I was letting you know about this webinar. So that link, you already have it. If you need it, we can send it again. I could actually put it in the chat. And this is just a automated form that is filled out once you complete the E-Verify MOU training. So all of this is the first, I think, 12 pages is just a form document. And then here is where your information will be. And then it also needs to, any document that we receive, it also needs to have the electronically signed by the Department of Homeland Security. This document does not expire. Once you fill it out once, it is good for the longevity of your organization. So you might have already, if you've already done business with the city, you might already have access to this form and you would just need to re-download it. So the next document that we require is an E-Verify affidavit. This is a city document. Again, it says here required for any contract with the city of Kansas City, Missouri. So if your award is under $5,000, you do not need to complete this part. I think we only have one grantee who their award is under that amount. So this you fill out with your information. You'll need a representative from your business, from your nonprofit neighborhood to fill out this information. And then we do ask that you get it notarized, signed and notarized. And if you need to get that notarized at City Hall, we can help you with that. If you don't know a notary, but most banks have a notary. And sometimes libraries will have one, but this also needs to be dated within, if you've done business with the city before, you can use this form if you already have it. But if it is if the notary seal is expired, we will ask for a new form. This is an example of a budget. So we will need, this is kind of the part that sometimes takes a little longer with some grantees to figure out what exactly you want to spend your money on. I know all of you submitted a budget for the application. So if that's still what you are wanting to use, please submit that. If you are wanting to change it, if your needs of your neighborhood changed, if the scope has changed since you first applied, which I think was all the way back in June and July, we can talk about that and kind of figure out what the best budget is for you all. But we would like a detailed budget showing us how much and this was for rebuild, but how much the empowerment grant is spending on each category. And this is another example of a scope of work. So this is just a narrative of what exactly you're doing with the grant funding. You're explaining to us the need from your community, what the money's going to be spent on, and just giving us an example of what the grant is. So I'll go ahead and give it back to Tamara.
Okay, can you see my screen? Is it on the slide? Sarah?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so now we will talk about timeline. The faster we receive your documents, the faster we can submit the award for a PO contract. It could take about 2 to 3 weeks for the PO to be ready to drawn up against. We will reach out to you once the award is ready with an invoice template and a reminder about the invoicing process as well as your quarterly reporting form. Contracts will be Contracts must be executed by October the 31st. Grants will close April the 30th of 2025, meaning that all funds need to be spent by then. Advance payments. Grant can receive 50% of the award as an upfront advance. As we ask that you request the advance via email to the kcempower@kcmo.org. And if you could also CC both me and Sarah or me or Sarah, doesn't matter. You will need to submit an invoice for the entire amount of the advance before we can start drawing down the remainder of the grant. So that just means that it doesn't have to be just one invoice, but we would need an invoice for the whole amount of the advancement before you will start to see a reimbursement. So after grantees have spent advance, you can submit invoices for reimbursement. So sorry, I kind of jumped ahead, but hopefully that's clear. When to expect your payment. Clean invoices lead to faster processing. The city allows us 30 days for a payment turnaround, and the first invoice always takes the longest, so be patient with us. We have a lot of grantees. Okay, quarterly reporting. We are asking that all empowerment grantees to submit quarterly reporting for key performance indicators. We also call those KPIs. This will not be more than 7 to 8 questions that you will have to answer each quarter. If you do not submit your quarterly reporting on time, your payment could be withheld until completed. This data helps us show the City Council that the funds are super important. And lastly, before we go to questions, I just wanted to give you guys our information of how you can reach us. So we have our neighborhood empowerment email here. I have my personal email and phone number, Tamara, as well as Sarah Wagner's email and phone number. So now we will open it up for questions. And I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. Is that okay?
Yeah. Okay, so we have a couple questions. Katie asked, can we just submit for payment one time after the project is completed? Katie, yes, you guys, we will get into, we really wanted to focus today on that first part, the contracting, setting up as a vendor, requesting that first advance payment. We will be offering another webinar on just invoicing to help you guys walk through that process. But you can just submit the whole grant amount for one lump payment if that works easier for you to collect those receipts and then submit. If it's better for your organization's cash flow to submit every month, every other week. We have organizations that do that. It's really how often you want to be reimbursed. So, and Candy Coburn asked, does this mean that we have to spend the money and then get reimbursed for the grant? So For this grant, we can do 50% of the grant award as an advance payment, and that means that you will get that before any spending starts. So you would get that advance amount halfway. You still need to collect receipts and submit invoices for that first advance payment amount. And once you reach that amount, any funds after that will be reimbursed. So let's say your grant award was $20,000. You can get $10,000 advance in your bank account, and then spend back that money to $10,000, and then anything after that you will have to pay for, and then we can reimburse you. Okay. Okay, Gabe asked, we are hiring a contractor for our project. Would the city provide the funds to the contractor directly or to the neighborhood association? So any payments, any contracts that you guys sign, or anything that you do with this grant, that is your responsibility. We are just responsible for paying you. So any work that you do has to be taken on by your organization, and then we will just pay the bills. Okay, Bill wants some more information on insurance. So we, as part of any city contract, we require insurance, which we understand that some smaller organizations maybe don't have insurance at this time. One thing we would really encourage, if it's wasn't a part of your original budget, is to see if you could add that insurance to this grant budget. Because you can use grant funds to pay for insurance. We need it before we contract. So if, you would be responsible for the first initial payment. But if it was a reoccurring payment after that, you could charge it to the grant. If insurance isn't an option for your organization, or if any of these documents, licensing, isn't an option, we have worked with some groups who have a different organization as a fiscal agent. That's something that we would have to talk about one-on-one with your organization to see if that would be a good fit. But we do ask that all grant activity is covered under insurance. It protects the city. It also protects your organization, and kind of sets you up in a good place for future grant funding as well. We do have some requirements, that $2 million for general liability, and $1 million on any single incident. And if you want us to email you the specifics, we can definitely do that. And we have a lot of organizations use a lot of different insurance providers. I've gotten a couple emails about if there's somebody we would recommend. We don't do that, but any typical insurance does cover a number of our current grantees. Any other insurance specific questions? I just wanted to touch base again on the deadlines that Tamara went over. So we are expecting to execute all contracts by October 31st. We want all of you to have the option to start your grant activity by the latest November 1st, because the grant does end on April 30th, 2025. So we need to get those contracts executed by the end of October, so you have plenty of time to, undergo your grant activity. And the biggest part of that time-wise is when there's a struggle getting some of those documents in, if there's problems with licensing or insurance or any of those things. So that's why we wanted to gather you guys here today and start talking about the expectations for those contracting requirements. And if you're having issues getting those documents together, keeping us in the loop, reaching out and letting us know your timeline. Okay. Okay. Whitney asked that if you are a volunteer organization, a volunteer neighborhood board, do you have to provide the employee affidavit? So for the employee affidavit and the MOU, yes, even if you have no employees, we ask that you still fill those forms out if your grant award is over $5,000. It's a cover for the city and for your organization in case you do hire an employee. And even if you have no employees, you can fill that out and it still applies to your organization. Okay, so if funding is not used by the nonprofits, due to having to pay half of the grant first, what happens to the leftover money? So if we give you your advance payment and you do not submit invoices and receipts for that amount and the grant ends, we will ask for that advance amount to be returned to the city. If you do use the advance amount and don't charge us anything after that, and the grant ends, then you will just be giving up that grant award. So you would not be available, the award would no longer be available for you to draw down against. Someone asked Leanne about the city having an insurance broker that works for nonprofits. No, we do not have anyone we recommend. That would be a conflict of interest for us. And so we just ask that you guys can network and find out what insurance providers other nonprofits are using, other neighborhoods are using, and see if that would be a good fit for you. And I am sharing in the chat the E-Verify link for the MOU. Okay, I think I will share the email, the insurance, Tamara and I will share the insurance requirements when we share this webinar. The exact requirements for the aggregate amounts and the individual coverage amounts. So the grant does end April 30th, 2025. That is the last day that you can charge grant activity to this grant. Now, after that ends, of course, there'll be final submissions for invoices and things like that, but we will not be accepting any invoices that are dated later than April 30th, 2025. Okay. Somebody asked if there are changes to our original budget, how do we get those approved? So if there are changes from when you submitted until now, you just need to email us what changes you're proposing and why, along with a updated grant budget. and we will review and see if it aligns with the original scope of your application. And if that we can accept that. Okay, Gabe has a question. Can grant activity continue after April 2025 if all payments have been made by April 2025? So if you are billing us for a project that continues on after April, you can keep doing that project as long as you want. You just can't bill us for it. So our portion of this grant ends on April 30th, 2025, and that we can't support financially any grant activity that happens after that date. But if it's a successful program and you keep going, that you go for it. That's wonderful. That's what we hope that these funds do. Okay, any other questions? I'll just say once again, and Tamara, would you mind sharing our emails, putting that screen back up for just a minute? If you all are having, if this is the first time you've contracted with the city, if you need a little more guidance, please reach out to us. We're happy to set up one-on-one meetings to talk to your organization about, getting these documents in, timeline, or, reworking your budget, anything like that. So please, we're here to help you through this process and to get it started on a great foot. We have a question if the information of this information is on the city website under neighborhoods. Yes, we are developing a page for the empowerment grants where we will have all these training documents. We will have this webinar recorded that we can share to you and that we will also put on that page. There's a separate page just for grants. And it will be under there, and we could share that in the chat as well. The deadlines for the quarterly reporting will be coming soon. We haven't finalized that, but that will be finalized in the next week or so before we start contracting. And we will get that process to you all. Could these requirements be listed in the grant submission for next year? Yes, we can go over these and have them listed for next year. Thank you, Leanne, for that suggestion. And the question, is this a one-time grant? No, you guys are our first full class of empowerment grants. So we did this grant last year as a pilot program. And it was successful, and City Council allotted some more funding towards it. So this is our first full rollout of this neighborhood empowerment grant. And we are planning on having another grant application for this out in this fall, but with a more targeted focus. And more details will be coming soon on that, but we are hoping to continue this grant to be an annual grant process with applications and funding for our registered neighborhoods. So that's part of the reason why we are doing the quarterly reporting. So we have data to stand on when we present this in our budget to council so that we can continue to get this funded. Okay. Any other questions? this is kind of the first hurdle to jump over is getting the contract in, and then that will set you guys up so you can start doing the work that I know you're itching to do. So, Tamara, do you have anything else to add?
Not that I can think of. Thank you guys for joining our webinar, taking your time out of your day today to even join our webinar. And feel free to reach out to us at any point if there are any questions or anything like that. Maybe something you don't understand. Feel free. We're always available.
Thank you all, and we will be in touch. Please reach out if you have any questions.